Hello everyone, this is Mayor Lionel Jordan, and today we're meeting with Terry Gulley, who's in charge of our transportation division at the department at the city of Fayetteville, and we're going to discuss today all the stuff that Terry does and how it affects you, and give you all some contact numbers if you want to talk about everything from sidewalks to trails to streets in the city of Fayetteville. So with that, Terry, it's wonderful to have you here today, and maybe you just tell the folks what you do and how you do it.
Glad to be here, Mayor. I'm Terry Gulley. I'm the Transportation Director for the city. And what all our division is over, our department is over, is the Transportation Department, which consists of several different entities within that. And those are everything from the overlay program, the street maintenance program, the sidewalk program where we maintain and build new sidewalks. It's also over drainage, right-of-way maintenance. The traffic division is also in there where everything to do with all the street signage, all the traffic signals, which we now have over 100 in the city. I can remember back when I moved here in '69, there was 4. But anyway, we also have the trails construction program within our division, where we're actually out building them, and then once we complete that, the Parks Department then takes over management of those. Other areas I'm also involved in is the parking division, the airport, and the fleet maintenance division within the city. But we kind of provide support with those for, with fleet especially, for all the other divisions within the city. But that's kind of a quick overview of that. So
you do just about everything as far as transportation goes. Anything that moves, you've got something to do with it, pretty much.
So it seems, you know. But anyway, you know, and some of the major things coming up for next year is the overlay program for the next year. We have brought that. It'll be coming to the council on the 21st, and also the sidewalk plan on the 21st.
How much money do we spend on the overlay program approximately?
Right now, it's got a budget around $1.6 million in the overlay.
And
part.
How many miles of road can you do?
This year, we're going to accomplish right at a little over 9 miles of overlay in that conditions. You know, that kind of got a little slower than normal last year. We had a lot of winter weather, the most winter weather we've had in probably the last 10 years, and a lot of wet weather.
And when you have a lot of that, then you have to take the crew and move them from building roads and sidewalks.
Pretty much everybody becomes available to fit the needs at that time, you know, whether it's drainage issues, we're dealing and responding to that. We had 2 or 3 rains this year where we were getting 1 to 2 inches per hour. When that occurs, we're going to have flooding issues. Normal general rain, it's not a problem. But yeah, we mobilize everything to deal with that. Same with snow and ice, you know. Just hopefully never another ice storm.
That's me too. That was kind of an eye-opener for all of us. Yeah. You're also in charge of parking, is that not correct?
That's correct.
So
we're over that, and our big project this year was instigating the paid parking program in the entertainment district, which we'll be reviewing tonight.
Right.
So.
And tell us a little bit about the trails construction.
Well, trails construction this year was focused on making the connection that essentially was one of the hardest ones we've had to make, and that was going from just south of the Walton Arts Center parking lot and connecting to Maple Street along Frisco train tracks, where we actually went under the Lafayette Street Bridge and then crossed at Maple Street. We had to do quite a bit of incline work there, built a lot of retaining walls, but it finally tied everything together to where 6th Street to the mall area is now traversable by not leaving the trail. Next year, we're in the process of trying to finish up the easements to get the east-west connection across the University Farm, which will go from Skull Creek Trail along the south side of the easternmost part of the U of A farm, and then go through Ag-Rap Park and across near the fairgrounds and down 540 and connect under Porter Road to get us where we have a connection outside the 540 loop. But that's hopefully that's about a 2.3 mile stretch next year that hopefully we will will get accomplished next year.
That's a huge connection there.
And currently we're working with the university where we received some grants through them and us that applied for that to tie in the Oak Ridge Trail, which essentially is going right on the north side of Center and Clinton Avenue and tying in just to the east of Pomfret Hall over at the university, which will tie in the students as a possible route into that part of campus from Skull Creek Trail.
How many miles of trail did you build this year, and how many do you expect to build?
We're probably, due to the difficulty of the section we took on this year, we're probably going to be just under 1.5, somewhere in there this year. We made some other connections over on Old Missouri Road to tie into Mud Creek Trail and get across the creek.
So
there.
Basically, you were making connections.
We're
from
more
one
doing
trail
connections this year. In the past, we've been making more distance in the year, but we've been doing more raw land like Lake Fayetteville Trail and things like that. Next year, we're hoping to be somewhere in the 2.5 mile range, with the majority of it going into that University Trail connection.
So we're looking at probably 4 miles in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Or will have.
And that's all that's dependent upon. I mean, some of the overlay program and the sidewalk program, all three things are dependent upon the difficulty of the project
and
you
weather
choose.
and
some of that. But I mean, streets we're paving that don't have curb and gutter improvements needed go much faster than streets that need major redos. Like next year, one of those will be the Sycamore to Ash Street connection. We're replacing the water line, and then we're going to upgrade that section and tie into some previous sidewalk work we've done on Ash that will essentially connect Old Wire Road down to 71 Business.
And let's talk a little bit about the sidewalks. How many miles have we done of sidewalks, and you expect to do next year?
Well, the last 3 years we've been tied up with a lot of projects in the downtown area, meaning the square where we completed the renovation there. The next year it was College Street where we did that 6-block section and upgraded that, and this past year was Block Street. So those are major complete rebuilds, but the great thing about those is the water lines were replaced, any sewer upgrades were made, any drainage improvements were made, lighting was put in, new sidewalks, new parking, everything. So we're hopefully 20 to 25 years, there's going to be very little need to be done on those. So those are total renovations, which the sidewalks and things like that should last. Well, just for an example, we're doing Block Street. We found one section of Block Street up against the building where the last guy that poured a sidewalk on Block Street had written his name in the concrete with the date.
Yes.
And it was November 1910, so 100 years ago this year. I'd like to think the materials are in better quality now than they were back then, so with any luck, that won't be a project we have to tackle again while we're alive. Wow. Someone else will hopefully find someone else's name that did this project there 100 years from now and say, wow, like we did. I got off on what else the rest of the question was.
That's fine. This is for the people to understand how everything works, and
But anyway, okay. Well, anyway, moving back to what we thought we'd accomplish on the sidewalk plan next year. Next year, I mean, as far as the list we put together a list with 28,000 feet on it. That's over 5 miles.
Wow.
That's more aggressive than we'll probably get accomplished. We tend to put more on the list and go for it all. If we don't get there, then we take the things that are on that list and try and roll those into the next year as the priority projects in the following year. So many things relate to that into we're trying to tie all this together with the water department, sewer department, everything else. Is we don't want to go in and do a improvement and then have a bad water line that's 75 years old that blows out underneath it, and then we have to go back and patch that. We'd like to get several years with hopefully out just unforeseen problems blowing up.
Sort of like a preventive maintenance.
Yeah, so we try and do it all. We look at the whole picture, integrate with water and sewer and everybody else to try and minimize the disruption after we put you in a new street. We want it to stay looking new for as long as possible. Right. We know there's going to be water line a dry summer is going to cause the ground to shift. So things will occur, but we try and minimize those as best we can. But it's an aggressive plan next year with 28,000 feet on there. It's now going back to more the way it was 3 or 4 years ago, where it's more equally spread out in further reaches around the city. And, you know, as people notice things sometimes, though, the northeastern part of town or the far western part of town, especially outside the bypass loop, is, well, there's not as much in our ward as there is in other wards. But a lot of that is due is a lot of the newer streets and towns are located in those two areas, and those things haven't deteriorated as much. Plus, the planning requirements require sidewalks on both sides of the streets now, where 100 years ago they didn't require sidewalks at all. So that's why a lot of times you'll see more work being done in the older sections of town, trying to catch up to what some of the newer sections already have obtained just through the new planning principles.
Well, let me ask you this now. If you also do repair work, so if I'm a citizen and if I've got a broken sidewalk or a pothole in the street, or there's issues with flooding, your department is the one to contact, correct?
Yeah, and we want you to contact us because, you know, one of the deals is we've got over 400 to 450 miles of street out there that we maintain. I've got 60 employees.
Right.
We're not going to get over every street even once a month. You know, there's streets, I can't say I've been on every street in town ever. You know, there's streets that are hidden away that you just, unless you have a purpose, you don't go. So the people that live there, we rely on them to call in and report those potholes. And call in when they first see them, because the smaller it is, the easier it is to repair. A pothole can go from 4 inches in a rainy situation with a lot of traffic, like say on North Street, to a 2-foot crater in a matter of 8 hours, because every time a tire hits that, it knocks out more of the base material under the asphalt. And that just makes it that much more difficult to repair. One thing everybody understands is we can't repair it. We'll repair those, but it's a temporary repair when they're wet. We've got to get them dry to make them come back and make a more permanent repair where it won't just pop out again. Because we may repair one and if it rains for 4 days and there's a lot of traffic, we'd be repairing it every day. But we can't do the permanent thing until it's over. But yes, contact us, let us know if you've got sidewalk issues, like on next year's plan. I know we've got maybe a 70 to 100 feet section on Lafayette where some 100-year-old sidewalk has deteriorated and just become, essentially looks like gravel. We're going to go in and repair, we may repair spots, patches here and there, and not just everywhere all at once, because the rest of it's good enough that we can get another 10 years out of it. Then we come back and repair the whole thing later, but we don't want to leave it where it's inaccessible at this time. But we try to add some of those into the plan every year, as well as looking at other things. And the major criteria for selecting those sidewalks is proximity to school is a big thing. We've made a big push over the years to get more walkability for children. Another big thing is the connectivity, where we can connect something. Like a few years ago, we did 1,000 foot of sidewalk on Gregg Street between North and Township, but by doing that 1,000 feet, it connected 7,000 feet in a row. So we patched 200 here and 500 there and 50 here, just to get it where suddenly you could go 1.5 miles without having to get off a sidewalk. So we look at, you know, different things like that. And then the other thing that leads to some direction in that is our paving projects also. Because if we're doing a paving project and we've got to renovate some curb or some broken sidewalk, we try and tie that in with that, and we'll get it generating some of the reasons we go with sidewalk. But those generally aren't long projects, but shorter. Exceptions to that were like when we did Martin Luther King down here from school to college, and then a couple of years later we did college over to Wood Street, where we renovated everything. So we usually take 1 or 2 of those a year and try and do that on a major connection somewhere.
So what you're telling me today, and what we're telling the people out there, that not only do you build new roads and sidewalks and trails, but you also maintain them. And if there is anything that they need repaired in that area, and you also take care of drainage issues. So, what is a contact number for the people to contact you at?
That's just the Transportation Division. You can call our main line there. It's 575-8228. My operations assistants there will take the information, give them plenty of information, call in knowing exactly what it is. I mean, we get a lot of calls also on street lights are out,
right.
Because we pay the street lights.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't understand is my street light bill to run the street lights in Fayetteville is just under $500,000 a year to keep the lights on. They burn out. We don't see them because we don't work nights. So we rely, that's something the citizens really need to call in and let us know. But if you can get a pole number, most of them have a tag on them that say SWEPCO or Ozarks, or an exact location. It's located in front of 1100 whatever street. It gives us more information because we're passing that along to the electric companies. We don't repair them. We don't own the lights in most cases. They do the work, but we'll facilitate it for them if they call in. But yes, any issues like that, drainage right away, potholes, street lights, the signal lights, signs being down, visibility issues where you can't see around corners. We handle all those type of things. And we'd appreciate any help we get from the citizens because we suddenly have 140,000 pairs of eyes instead of 60.
Right. Well, it's wonderful having you here today, Terry. And for you folks, once again, the contact number is 575-8228. That's Transportation Division. If you have any issues on sidewalks, drainage, lights, roads, whatever in that area that you need repaired, Terry's group will take care of it. Terry, it's wonderful to have you here today, and until I see you all again, have a great day, and I'll see you real soon.